The cave in the rain. The rain came down hard, cold, heavy, loud. Mark, a human supply worker, had taken the wrong path through the alien forest. He was supposed to reach the mining station before nightfall. But now, darkness was falling, and his boots were sinking into wet mud with every step. His radio was dead. His map was soaked. His only choice was to find shelter fast. Then he saw it. A narrow crack in a rocky hill. A cave. Mark pulled his hood tight and ran inside. The wind howled behind him as he stepped into the shadows. It was warm. A little dry. Better than freezing. Outside. He took off his wet coat and turned on his small flashlight. The beam moved across the walls, dust, stone, and... He froze. In the corner, hidden under old cloths and leaves, something moved. Mark stepped closer, slowly, carefully. Then he saw her, an alien woman, thin, pale blue skin, shaking. Her eyes glowed, softly in the dark, wide with fear. Beside her, two small figures huddled close and children. They didn't speak. They didn't scream. They only stared at him. The woman looked weak. Too weak to run. Mark lowered his light. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said gently. She didn't understand, but she didn't move either. Mark saw their bodies. Dirty. Ribs showing. The little ones looked even worse. The girl had a bruise on her leg. The boy's fingers trembled nonstop. Mark opened his pack and pulled out a protein bar. He broke it into 3 pieces and placed it on the ground between them. The children looked to their mother. She nodded slowly. They rushed forward, grabbing the food like animals. Their hands were shaking. They ate fast, not chewing much, like they thought it would be stolen again. The mother watched silently. Her body leaned against the wall as if even sitting took all her strength. Mark didn't ask questions yet. He just sat near the cave entrance, gave them space, and waited. Time passed. The rain outside grew louder. Then, the alien mother spoke. Her voice was rough, dry. But she tried her best in broken words. "You... human?" Mark nodded. "Yes, my name is Mark." She blinked slowly, then looked at her kids. She said something in her own language. The girl curled into her mother's lap. The boy hid behind her arm. "No home," the mother said. "No more tribe. We hide." Mark's heart tightened. "Why?" he asked. She struggled to find the words. "Mate. Dead. Tribe say. Children are weak. Not wanted. Throw out." Mark's eyes widened. "They threw you out?" She nodded. "We walk. Long days. No food. This cave. Only place." Mark looked at the girl. She was trying to stay awake, but her eyelids were heavy. He stood up and grabbed a small heating pad from his bag. He pressed the button and placed it near the family. Warmth filled the corner. The mother's eyes watered. "You... good," she whispered. He took off his jacket and gently placed it around her. She flinched at first, then relaxed. "Why you help?" she asked quietly. Mark looked out at the rain and then back at her. "No one should freeze in a cave. Not when I'm here." She said something to her son, who slowly came forward. Mark gave him a sip of water from his bottle. The boy smiled, just a little. Mark saw her tears fall now. Silent. Soft. I ask one thing," she said, voice shaking. Mark leaned in. She reached for his hand, hesitated, then placed hers over it. "Be father to my children. Please." Mark's breath caught. He wasn't ready for that. Not now. Not after 10 minutes. But when he looked at those kids, when he saw their empty stomachs and their mother's desperate eyes, he didn't say no. Not. Yet he just said, "Rest, we'll talk in the morning." Outside, the rain kept falling, inside the cave. A broken family slept for the first time in peace, and Mark, sitting near the entrance, stared at the fire he made with trembling hands. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing. This cave had just changed his life forever. She Asked me to stay. The rain had stopped by morning, but the cold stayed. Mark opened his eyes slowly. He had slept sitting up close to the cave entrance with only a small fire to keep him warm. He turned his head. They were still there. The alien mother, curled up with her children, using his jacket like a blanket. The boy had his arm over his sister. The mother's face was peaceful, but tired, like someone who hadn't rested in years. Mark stood up quietly and stepped outside. The ground was wet, but the sky was clearing. Thin light filtered through the alien trees. He could hear birds, strange ones. He looked around for food. He was low on supplies, but he found a few glowing mushrooms and a strange fruit that his scanner said was safe. When he returned, the children were awake. Their eyes lit up when they saw him, not with fear, but hope. He handed the fruit to them. The mother helped break it into pieces. She ate nothing. She gave it all to her kids. Mark knelt beside her. "You need to eat too," she smiled weakly. "Mothers eat last." Mark shook his head. "Not today." He gave her the mushrooms and watched until she took a bite. She chewed slowly, then whispered, "Thank you." Again. The girl, she must have been 5 or 6, crawled to Mark and sat beside him. She didn't say anything. She just leaned her head on his arm. It shocked him, but he didn't move away. The boy watched, then came over too. He sat on Mark's other side. The alien mother stared. Her lips trembled. "They trust you." Mark looked down at them and nodded, softly. "They're just kids." She reached forward suddenly. Her fingers touched his sleeve. "Stay," Mark blinked. "What?" "Stay here," she said. "With us." Her voice was firm this time, not begging, just asking. "I can work, clean, cook, be wife," she added slowly, struggling to form the human words. "You protect them, be father." Mark didn't answer. His mind spun. He barely knew her. He didn't even know her name. But then, he looked at them. 2 small aliens who had nothing, no home, no tribe, no one else. And he thought of Earth, of how lonely he had felt working alone on this cold planet. Months without anyone to talk to. Just mining, just orders, just silence. Maybe this wasn't madness. Maybe it was fate. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "You already said it," she replied softly. "You stayed last night." Mark felt something tighten in his chest. Before he could speak, a sudden noise echoed outside. Crack, a branch snapping. Mark stood up fast. The alien mother froze. She grabbed both her children and pulled them close. "Someone's out there?" Mark asked. She nodded, terrified. "They follow. Maybe tribe, maybe beasts." Mark picked up a sharp rock and stepped outside. He scanned the trees. Nothing. But his gut said something was out there, watching. He returned to the cave and blocked the entrance with stones and branches. Then he turned to her. "You said the tribe kicked you out?" She nodded. "They say children are weak, broken, not worth food." Mark clenched his jaw. "That's evil." She looked down. "That's life here." Mark sat by the fire. The girl crawled back into his lap like she belonged there. The mother watched and whispered, "You are good." He looked into her eyes. They were filled with something he hadn't seen in a long time. Trust. "I'll stay a few days," he said. "Help you make this cave safer." Her lips trembled again, but she smiled. "Then we are not alone." Outside, clouds moved away. Sunlight touched the wet earth. Inside the cave, warmth spread, not from fire, but from something deeper. A promise. Hunters in the thick mist covered the trees. It was morning, but it felt like night. Mark stood outside the cave, sharpening a stick with a rock. His ears were open. Every sound made him stop. A bird's call, a crack in the forest, the soft whisper of moving fog. Inside the cave, the alien mother was braiding her daughter's hair with quiet, careful fingers. The boy sat beside her, trying to shape small toys from dry leaves. Mark stepped back in and whispered, "Something's out there." The mother looked up. "You saw?" "No," Mark said. "But I feel it." She nodded. Her voice was low. "They come, they always come." He turned to her. "Who?" "My tribe. The hunters," she said. "They follow scent. Weak ones are chased if they try to return." "Even with kids?" Mark asked, shocked. She looked away. "Especially with kids." Mark clenched his fists. "Then we stay ready." He moved fast, made traps with sharp sticks, covered the cave with branches, dug a small pit near the path. The mother helped, even though she was tired. The boy fetched rocks. The girl stacked wood for a fire. That evening, Mark built a second fire just beyond, the cave entrance. A trick. If someone followed the light, they'd step into the trap. The mother looked at him as he worked. "You think like Hunter?" He shook his head. "No, I think like a father." She stared at him. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. Then, from the trees, a deep growl, Mark turned. Red eyes flashed in the mist, low to the ground, fast, silent. A beast, no, a hunter in armor, alien, tall, 4 arms, masked face, holding a sharp weapon that glowed red. Mark moved quick, grabbed the sharpened stick and stepped between the cave and the enemy. The children screamed. The mother pulled them back into the shadows. The hunter stepped closer, slow and quiet. Mark raised his stick. His heart thudded in his ears. "Stay away!" he shouted. The hunter tilted his head, then charged. Mark dodged, barely. The glowing blade cut air where his neck had been. Mark rolled, grabbed a rock, and smashed it into the hunter's leg. The alien stumbled. Mark shoved the sharp stick into its side. It screamed, but it didn't fall. It grabbed Mark by the throat and lifted him. The world spun. The mother's voice screamed in her language. The children cried. Mark kicked, struggled. Then, snap. One of the traps triggered. A falling log, sharpened at the end, struck the hunter's back. The alien let go. Screamed again. Mark hit the ground and gasped for breath. The hunter turned to run, but another trap triggered. A pit opened beneath him. He fell in, crashing down hard. Silence. Only the sound of Mark's breathing and the fire crackling nearby. The mother crawled to him. "Are you hurt?" He nodded weakly. "I'll live." She held his face. Her hands were cold, but gentle. "You saved us again." He looked at her, breathing hard. "I said I would." The girl and boy ran to them, wrapping their arms around Mark. Their small hands clung to him like he was the only thing keeping them alive. And maybe he was. The mother whispered, "Now they will come in numbers." Mark looked at the dead fire, at the fog outside. "We'll be ready," learning her world. The hunter never came back out of the pit, but Mark didn't sleep that night. He stayed awake, sitting by the cave's entrance, holding a sharpened stick in one hand and a hot stone in the other to stay warm. The alien mother sat beside him, silent, watching the forest. The firelight danced across her tired face. "Your people," Mark asked softly. "Why are they like this?" She looked down. "They only keep strong. Weak ones are thrown away." "Old rule." Mark shook his head. "That's not a rule. That's cruelty." The mother didn't argue. She just stared at the trees. Then, very quietly, she said, "I liked flowers. Before." He looked at her. "Flowers?" She nodded. "In my village. I grew them. Bright colors. Good smell. But then, mate died. I had to leave. No more flowers. Only hiding." Mark thought for a moment, then reached into his pack. He pulled out a small bag. Inside was a dried plant, just a little herb from earth. He broke a piece off and held it to her. "It's not a flower," he said, "but it smells nice." She leaned in. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted with surprise. It smells kind. That word made Mark pause. The children slept quietly inside. The boy hugged Mark's jacket. The girl clutched a smooth rock like a doll. The mother spoke again. They were born small, sick. Tribe said they wouldn't live. But they did, Mark replied. She smiled sadly. Because I ran, hid, stole food, cried alone. I kept them alive, but I was dying. You're not dying now, Mark said. You're surviving. She looked at him for a long time. Because of you. The next morning, Mark began building. He didn't know what he was making at first, but his hands moved anyway. A wall, a roof of sticks over the cave mouth, a better fire pit, a place to cook. The mother watched him with wide eyes. You build like soldier. I used to fix things on Earth, he said. Ships, roads, water systems. I like making broken things work again. She touched a rock beside her. Then maybe fix us too. They both laughed. A strange moment. Soft. Real. The children played near the edge of the cave. Mark gave them some old rope and they began to make a swing from a tree branch just outside. The boy even smiled. Mark walked to the mother. You never told me your name. She blinked. My name is hard for your tongue. Try me. She said something soft and musical. The sound danced in the air. Mark tried to copy it. Failed. Laughed. Tried again. She laughed too. You say it like a goat, she said, covering her mouth. Then give me a shorter name, he said. Something I can say. She thought for a while, then whispered, Leja. Leja, Mark repeated. She nodded. And the children? She pointed. Girl is Rune, boy is Tabi. He said each name slowly, carefully. Then they sat again as the sun moved over the sky. She turned to him. You still leave? Mark didn't answer right away. I should. I have orders. A job. But, he looked at the children, at Leja. But maybe the job found me here. She placed her hand gently over his. If you stay, I be wife. No ask more. He didn't speak. She leaned closer. No one ever gave me kindness before you. No one fought for us. You are not just human. You are different. Mark looked into her strange, glowing eyes, and he whispered, I'm not leaving. Outside, the forest grew quiet. But inside, something new had started. Not just shelter, not just survival, but the beginning of a home. Storm of the past. The sun didn't rise that morning. Heavy clouds swallowed the sky. Mark felt it before he saw it. A strange tension in the air, like the trees were holding their breath, like the wind was afraid to move. He stepped outside the cave, eyes scanning the forest. Then he saw the smoke, a dark, slow line rising in the distance. Leja, he called softly. She appeared behind him, holding Rune in her arms. Tabi stood close by, gripping her leg. She saw the smoke, too, and her skin lost color. They're here, she whispered. Mark's voice was hard. Your tribe. Leja nodded slowly. The hunters. They found us. Mark didn't wait. He pulled the children inside and began packing what little they had, water, dried roots, blankets. But Leja didn't move. He looked at her. We have to run. They will follow. They are faster, stronger. Then I'll stop them. She stared at him like he had said something impossible. You can't fight a whole tribe. Mark's jaw tightened. I don't need to fight them all. Just long enough for you and the kids to get away. But she stepped forward and shook her head. No, I will not leave you. Just then, a sound tore through the air, a deep horn, loud, unnatural. The children screamed. Mark stood in front of them. Moments later, 6 figures stepped from the mist, alien warriors. Tall, painted in red and black. All wore masks, all carried weapons. One stood taller than the rest. An elder, his mask made of bone. He spoke in their language, sharp and cold. Leja answered back, voice trembling but strong. Mark didn't understand the words, but he understood the tension. The leader pointed at the children, then at Mark, then made a slicing motion across his throat. Mark raised his voice. If they want the children, they go through me. The elder tilted his head. Then he removed his mask. His face was scarred. His eyes were filled with disgust. He spoke in broken human tongue. You are human male. Why you protect trash? Mark stepped forward. They're not trash. They're my family. The warriors growled. The elder shouted something. Leja translated, shaking. He says, prove it. If you are their mate, their father, then fight their champion, win, and keep them. And if I lose? Mark asked. She didn't answer. He already knew. The warriors stepped aside. A new figure emerged from the trees. A monster, tall, armored, holding a double blade longer than Mark's. Arm, the tribe's champion. Mark swallowed. He had no armor, no blade, no chance. But he stepped forward anyway. I'll fight. Leja grabbed his hand. Please don't. They'll kill you. Mark looked at her. They already tried. I'm still here. I'll always be here. She didn't cry. But her eyes told the story. He kissed Rune's head, patted Tabi's shoulder, then walked into the clearing. The tribe formed a circle. The champion roared. Mark raised a wooden spear. Then the fight began. The alien charged fast, swinging wide. Mark rolled, dodged, got sliced across the shoulder but kept standing. He jabbed the spear into the alien's leg. The wood snapped. The champion laughed. Mark grabbed dirt and threw it in his eyes. Then he ran. Around. Behind. Grabbed a rock. Jumped on the alien's back. The alien slammed him into the ground. Pain exploded in Mark's chest. He couldn't breathe. But he saw Leja. Saw the children. He stood. Bleeding. Barely. The champion raised his blade for the final strike. Mark picked up the broken spear shaft, and as the alien swung down, Mark thrust up, straight into the alien's throat. The blade dropped. The champion fell. Silence. Then the elder stepped forward. He looked at Mark, then at Leja, and finally, he knelt. The others followed. Leja's lips trembled. They accept you now, as one of us, as father. Mark could barely stand, but he smiled, then let them know, this family is mine. Man versus monster. Mark could barely breathe. His shirt was soaked with blood. His shoulder burned. His ribs felt cracked. But he didn't fall. He stood in the middle of the muddy clearing, chest rising and falling as the tribe bowed to him. Behind him, the alien champion lay still. The mother, Leja, ran to him. Her hands were shaking, her face pale. You're hurt, she whispered, pressing cloth against his wound. I'm fine, he lied. You almost died, she said. I said I'd protect you. I meant it. The elder warrior stepped forward again. His eyes were cold, but there was a flicker of respect. He spoke in their language, short, firm words. Leja translated, voice steady. He says, you are not like other humans. You fought, like beast, but with heart. Mark gave a tired nod. The elder turned to the rest of the tribe and shouted something loud. And then, something no one expected happened. The warriors placed their weapons down. One of them walked to the children, slowly, carefully, and offered Tabi a piece of fruit. Tabi hid behind Mark's leg. Rune peeked out from Leja's side. Leja whispered, they never showed kindness before. Mark watched carefully. Why now? Because you beat their strongest, she said, and lived. The elder looked at Leja next and spoke again. She went silent for a moment, then gasped. What? Mark asked. She looked at him, stunned. He says, we are no longer outcasts. He offers land, a home, if we stay. Mark blinked. Just like that, she nodded. Because of you. Mark looked at her. Really looked. Her eyes were wet but strong. Her shoulders no longer hunched in shame or fear. I didn't fight to win land, Mark said. I fought for you. Leja stepped closer, and I choose to stay with you. He smiled, but the elder raised a hand. He wasn't done. A new figure stepped out of the crowd, another alien. This one was different. Twice the size of the champion Mark had beaten, covered in strange armor, scars across every limb, eyes like burning coals. Leja's smile faded. She whispered, "No." Mark tensed. "Who's that?" "The true monster," she said. "The old war beast. They call it Galnuk. It fought in the ancient wars, killed hundreds. They kept it in chains for punishment, for fear." Mark's jaw tightened. "And now? They release it. As final test." Galnuk let out a roar that shook the trees. Mark pushed the children. Behind him. "Get back to the cave." "No," Leja said. "You can't fight that." "I won't run," Mark said. "I didn't come this far to lose now." The beast charged. Mark had no weapon, no armor, only courage. He dodged left, barely missed a claw the size of his head. He rolled and picked up a branch, threw it at the beast. It shattered on Galnuk's chest. The monster growled. Leja screamed. Tabi cried. Mark kept moving, faster than the beast expected. He climbed onto a tree and jumped onto Galnuk's back. It roared and twisted, slamming him against a rock. Mark grunted in pain but held on. He jammed a sharp stone into its neck, again and again. The monster howled. Blood sprayed. It threw him off. He hit the ground hard, couldn't move. Galnuk raised its claw and then stopped. The children were standing in front of Mark. Rune. Tabi. Tiny. Shaking. But brave. "No!" Leja screamed. But they didn't run. They spread their arms wide as if protecting him. The monster growled and then paused. It looked into their eyes, then at Mark, then at the tribe, and slowly dropped its claw. It stepped back and bowed. Silence. Then cheers. The tribe shouted in disbelief. Even the elder looked shocked. Leja ran to her children, held them, cried into their hair. Mark sat up, breathing hard, his body shaking. "They saved me," he whispered. Leja looked at him, eyes full of love. "No, you saved us first. A family forged by fire." The monster bowed, and with that simple act, everything changed. No one spoke for a long time. The tribe, the same people who had once thrown Leja and her children out, stood in silence. Some dropped to one knee, others just stared at the human who had survived the impossible. Mark sat on the ground, breath shaky, body bruised but heart full. Leja knelt beside him, her arms wrapped around Rune and Tabi. "They won't call us weak again," she whispered. Mark looked at her, then at the children. He smiled. "No, they'll call us something else now." "What's that?" Leja asked. "A family." The elder walked forward, still quiet. His mask now rested in his hands. He placed it on the ground before Mark, a symbol of deep respect. "You are not just human," he said slowly in broken English. "You are fire. You are shield. You are father now." The tribe echoed the word. Father. Mark stood, barely, but he stood tall. That night, the tribe lit a great fire. They roasted meat, shared food, even gave Rune and Tabi small gifts, carved stones and painted beads. The children laughed for the first time without fear. Mark and Leja sat close together, wrapped in furs. Her head rested on his shoulder. "You should rest," she whispered. "I will," he said. "But first, I want to watch them." She looked at her children, playing near the flames, then back at him. "You could have left. Why didn't you?" He looked at her, eyes soft. "Because I came looking for shelter," he said, "and found something greater." "A cave?" she teased. He chuckled. "A reason to stay." The next morning the tribe gave them land, a green, quiet valley beside a stream. They helped build a home, half cave, half hut, strong walls, warm inside, a place to grow flowers. Rune and Tabi placed small hand-carved stones outside the door. Mark built a swing from rope and a strong branch. Leja gathered seeds, earth ones, alien ones. She began to plant again. One night, weeks later, she walked outside, with a blanket wrapped around her. Mark was sitting under the stars, fixing a broken tool. She sat beside him. "You never told me," she said. "Told you what?" "What you want." Mark looked at her. "I want to wake up knowing you're beside me, that the kids are safe, that we're warm. That's enough." She leaned closer. Her voice was soft. "Then you already have it." The fire crackled behind them. Mark held her hand. Her fingers were thin, worn, but warm, alive. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked. He looked at the sky. "I used to. But now, I think Earth is just wherever they are." He pointed toward the house, toward Rune's laughter echoing inside. Leja smiled. "I was dying in that cave," she said. "Then you came. I thought I was lost when I found it," Mark whispered. She turned and kissed his cheek. "Then maybe we both found what we didn't know we needed." A new wind moved through the trees. A new chapter had begun. No longer hiding. No longer afraid. They were not just human and alien now. They were home. Together.